In this presentation, we will compare two different countries, which is Italy and Singapore, in terms of how states' culture value dimensions. These dimensions are the framework to analyze cultural difference across countries. So, we identified 6 key dimensions of culture that influence how people in different societies and perceive respond to various aspects to life and work. The 6 dimensions are power distance, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term versus short-term orientation, indulgence versus restraint.
Hello, my name is Adli Ganendra Danadiaksa, 2971C3. So, power distance is a cultural comparison between Italy and Singapore. Power distance is a cultural dimension that measures the extent to which a society accepts power inequalities. It reflects how people perceive power relationship and how they are enacted in organization and institutions. So, for Italy, a moderate power distance culture in Italy, there's a more balanced approach to power distribution, while there's a recognition of hierarchical structures. There's also a strong emphasis on individual autonomy and equality. This means that Italian workplaces tend to be more democratic with open communication channels and willingness to challenge authority when necessary. For Singapore, on the other hand, is a higher power distance culture. This means that there's a strong acceptance of hierarchical structures and a clear distinction between those in position of power and those who are subordinate. In Singaporean, organization authority is highly respected and decisions are often made by those at the top.
So we move to the individualism versus collectivism. So Italy is a highly individualistic society where personal achievement and self-relevance are emphasized. Italians value personal freedom and comfortable with independent decision making. Okay, for the Singapore learns toward collectivism, where the needs and goals of the group take precedence over the individual desire. In Singapore, loyalty to family and organization is highly valued. Okay, so the comparison between the Italy and Singapore, in Italy, individualism contrasts with Singaporeans' collectivism. Reflecting Italy emphasize on personal achievement versus Singapore focus on harmony of a group loyalty. Okay, now we move to the masculinity and femininity. Okay, for the Italy score high on masculinity, indicating a focus on achievement, success and competition. Italian value personal ambition and pursuit of success. For the Singapore has a moderatist masculine culture where success is valued with an emphasis on cooperation and consensus. While achievement is important, Singapore prioritize harmony and avoid aggressive competition. For the comparison between Italy and Singapore, both countries lean toward masculinity, but Italy is more assertive in its pursuit of success, while Singapore balance ambition with cooperative effort and harmonious relationship.
So, uncertainty avoidance. Italy scores are high on uncertainty avoidance, meaning Italians are less comfortable with ambiguity and uncertainty. They tend to prefer clear rules, structured routines, and have a lower tolerance for unpredictable situations. But for Singapore scores low on uncertainty avoidance, meaning Singaporeans are more adaptable to change and ambiguity. They tend to be pragmatic, willing to accept new ideas, and more open to taking risks.
Next, I will proceed to long-term versus short-term orientation, which is LTO.
So for Italy, Italy scores moderately on long-term orientation, reflecting a balance between preserving traditions and adapting to change. Italians value traditions but are also somewhat open to new ideas, especially in business. However, for Singapore, Singapore has a high long-term orientation score, focusing on future-oriented goals, perseverance, and pragmatic approaches. Singaporeans are willing to delay short-term gratification for long-term gains and value strategic thinking. So for the comparison, Singapore's high long-term orientation contrasts with Italy's moderate score, with Singapore emphasizing future goals and pragmatic solutions, while Italy balances traditions and adaptation.
Hello everyone, today we are talking about indulgence versus restaurants, or IVR. This topic helps us understand how different cultures handle enjoyment, control and emotion. We look at two countries, Italy, which is more indulgent, and Singapore, which is more restaurant. Let's see the differences. Let's start with Italy. Italy scores high on indulgence because Italians believe in enjoying life, spending time with loved ones and savoring good food. They live a relaxed lifestyle and they express their emotion freely. For example, Italians often spend hours enjoying meals with family and friends, fully experiencing the moment. They know how to appreciate life with the joys. Now, let's look at Singapore, which is more different. Singapore scores lower on indulgence, meaning it's more restraints. People in Singapore are generally more reserved and tend to keep their emotion checked. They value self-discipline and balance in Singapore. In Singapore, society encourages people to stay calm and think before speaking and focus on stability and order. So how do these two cultures compare? Italy's indulgent approach, which is focused on enjoying life and expressing feeling. It is very different from Singapore because Singapore focuses on control and discipline. Italians believe in celebrating life pleasure, while Singaporeans value moderation. Italians might enjoy long meals and gatherings, while Singaporeans might focus more on being efficient and practical. To wrap up, the indulgent versus restaurants dimension show us how Italy and Singapore view life differently. Italy's indulgent culture shows joy and freedom, while Singapore's restaurant culture values order and self-control. Both ways give us something interesting to learn about different lifestyles. Thank you, that's it from me.
So in conclusion, Italy and Singapore reveal striking cultural contrasts when viewed through Hofstede framework. Italy leans toward individualism, personal freedom, and a focus on enjoyment, while Singapore places high value on respecting authority, maintaining group harmony, and planning for the long term. These differences offer insight into how each culture approaches relationship, authority, and the balance between personal good and collective well-being. And that's all from our presentation. Thank you.